السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله علي الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا محمد وأعلانا وأولانا ومولانا وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Welcome to Quranic Arabic Academy, Arabic Grammar Made Easy, lesson number 69. ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد رسولا. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. In this lesson we're going to understand ajwaf. In terms of weak letters in the root letters, there are two types of fail. One is called the sahihun and number two is called mu'tallun. So what is a weak verb? There are few letters in Arabic language as such that if they are part of the root letters of a verb, the verb is considered weak. When a verb is weak, a set of rules must be applied in order to change it so that it is no longer considered weak. The weak letters are waw or ya, and they are called harful illah. Actually, there are three huruful illah. Number one, alif. Number two, waw. And number three, ya. Alif, waw, ya. They are called huruful illah. But in the root letters, only there can be waw or ya. In the root letters, there will never be an alif. This ya or waw will change to an alif. So remember, there are three huruful illah: alif, waw, ya. But only waw or ya can be part of the root letters. Alif never can be a part of root letters. Yes, ya and waw, or ya or waw, can change into alif. In terms of fail having weak letters or not, there are two types of fail. Number one, sahihun. Number two, mu'tallun. There are three types of sahih fail: salimun, mahmuzun, mudha'afun. And there are four types of mu'tal: mithalun, ajwafun, naqisun, and lafifun. Let's go through what on each of them. What do they mean? We've done number one, salim, no hamza, no duplication of letters, no weak letters. Number two, mahmuz, hamza anywhere in the root letters. Number three, mudha'af, ainul kalima and the lamul kalima are the same. And number four, mithal, fa'ul kalima is a weak letter, waw or ya. Alhamdulillah, so far we've done 1 to 4. In today's lesson, we're going to number 5, ajwaf. What is ajwaf? Ainul kalima is a weak letter. It can be waw or it can be ya. For example, qaf, waw, lam. So waw is a harful illah. It happens to be in Ainul Kalima, and Ba, Ya, Ain. So you can see the Ya is the Ainul Kalima, which is a weak letter, Harful Illa. So this is called Ajwaf. The middle letter or the Ainul Kalima is a weak letter. If Ainul Kalima is one of the Harful Illa, Waw or Ya, it is called Ajwaf. If the Ainul Kalima is Waw, it is called Ajwaf Wawi. If the Ainul Kalima is Ya, it is called Ajwaf Yai. Ajwaf Wawi comes from Bab Nasara and Sami'a, but mostly from Nasara, and very rare from Daraba and Karuma. Ajwaf Yai comes from Bab Sami'a and Daraba, but mostly from Sami'a, and very rare from Bab Nasara. Okay, before we go to the rules of Ajwaf, let us mentally be prepared. In one of the rules, we've seen the letter is mutaharrik, and we've seen ma qabal, or before it, is also mutaharrik. Or sometimes we say, we've learned a letter is mutaharrik, but ma qabal is sakin. This is all we need to follow. Okay, this is all we need to follow, and all of the rules of Ajwaf, or the rules of Naqis, which we're going to do in the next lesson. All we need to say is mutaharrik letter, ma qabal mutaharrik, mutaharrik letter, ma qabal sakin. That's all we need to look at, and this is the main rule of it. Okay. So there are 4 rules of Ajwaf. Okay. Don't let number 4 scare you. It's not that hard. All we need to see is this is it. We look at the mutaharrik letter, and we look at the ma qabal letter. If the ma qabal is a mutaharrik, we do something. If the ma qabal is sakin, then we do something. That's all you need to remember. It's not that hard. So let's go through the rules of Ajwaf before we go to the slide. Number 1 rule we look at the Harful Illa. This is our main letter. If Harful Illa mutaharrik, and before it we call it ma qabal, also mutaharrik. That's rule number 1. Then we do something. Rule number 2, Harful Illa mutaharrik, ma qabal sakin. Then we do something. So this Harful Illa can be one of the 2, Waw or Ya. It doesn't matter. In Ajwaf, both has the same rule. It's not like Mithal. When Mithal Ya'i, Mithal means when the Fa'ul Kalima is Harful Illa. If it's Ya, then there was no rules. There was no rules. It is only Mithal Wawi had a rule that in Al-Fa'il Al-Mudari Lil-Ma'lum, the Waw drops. That was the rule. But for Ajwaf, the rule is applied on both of the Harf Illa, Waw or Ya. So we say if harful illa is mutaharrik, ma qabal harful illa also mutaharrik, then we do something. Rule number 1. Rule number 2, harful illa mutaharrik, ma qabal sakin, then we do something. Rule number 3, ijtima'u sakinain. When we see ijtima'u sakinain, then we do something. Okay, that's it. These are the 3 main rules. Rule number 4, when we see the slide, then we can look at it. This is again very easy. So these are the main 3 rules we need to remember. Harful illa mutaharrik, ma qabal mutaharrik. Rule number 1. Rule number 2, harful illa mutaharrik, ma qabal sakin. Rule number 3, ijtima'u sakinain. So in all 14 forms of al-fi'l al-madi, we look harful illa mutaharrik, ma qabal mutaharrik. In which siga do we find this? Then we apply the rule. Rule number 2, harful illa mutaharrik, ma qabal sakin. Which siga do we find this? Do we find in al-fi'l al-madi or do we find in fi'l al-mudari? We'll look at that. Rule number 3, ijtima' sakinain. In which siga do we find this? Once we find it, we apply the rule. Rule number 1 is common everywhere. The rules of ajwaf. There are 4 rules for ajwaf. Number 1, if harful illa mutaharrik and ma qabal harful illa fatha. The rule is then harful illa will change to an alif. That's it. The harful illa doesn't matter, whatever it is. Could be waw or could be ya. Whatever it is, it changes to an alif. Harful illa mutaharrik and ma qabal harful illa fatha. Then harful illa will change to an alif. Rule number 2, harful illa mutaharrik and ma qabal harful illa sakin. Then harful illa transfers its haraka to ma qabal and changes itself into a harful illa according to the haraka of the ma qabal. According to the haraka just transferred. According to that, it will change to one of the harful illa. If the haraka of ma qabal is fatha, that harful illa will change according to the fatha, which is alif. If haraka of ma qabal is kasra, the harful illa will change to ya. If the ma qabal haraka is a dhamma, harful illa will change to waw. Rule number 3, when there is ijtima' sakinain, then the harful illa drops. In ijtima' sakinain, harful illa will be sukun on it, and there'll be another letter sukun on it. So when the ijtima' sakinain, one of them will be harful illa, and that will drop. Rule number 4, from the 6th form of al-fi'l al-madi. What is 6th form? Noonun niswa. from that form Nunun Niswa and all the other Ta'ul Fa'il, all the Mukhatab sigas and the Mutakallim sigas. Okay. So from the sixth form of Al-Fa'il Al-Madi, the haraka of Fa'ul Kalima also changes. The haraka of the Fa'ul Kalima also changes. In Bab Nasara, the Fa'ul Kalima takes Dhamma, and in Bab Sami'a, the Fa'ul Kalima takes Kasra. This will be in Ajwaf Wawi. In Ajwaf Yayi, from the sixth form of Al-Fa'il Al-Madi, the haraka of Fa'ul Kalima always takes Kasra. So rule number 4 only applies in Fa'il Al-Madi. We just need to look at the Fa'il Al-Madi or not. And if it's Al-Fa'il Al-Mudari, one of the above 3 rules will be applied. Rule number 4 is only applied in Al-Fa'il Al-Madi. What is it? When there is Nunun Niswa and Ta al-Fa'ilin or Ta al-Fa'il and Na al-Fa'ilin is attached, then the Fa'ul Kalima, the haraka also changes. If the fa'il is from Bab Nasara, the Fa'ul Kalima will have a Dhamma, and if the fa'il is from Bab Sami'a, the Fa'ul Kalima will have a Kasra. In Ajwaf Yayi, the Fa'ul Kalima is always Kasra. So I hope you understood the rules. Very simple. Just need to look at number 1 and number 2. That's all. We look at the Harful Illa, Mutaharrik or not. It will be Mutaharrik. The Harful Illa always will be Mutaharrik. And the Ma Qabal Harful Illa, if it's a Fatha, then Harful Illa will change to an Alif. And if Ma Qabal Harful Illa is a Sakin, then we transfer the haraka of the Harful Illa to Ma Qabal, and the Harful Illa we just transferred from that Harful Illa is a Sakin now, and that will change according to the haraka just transferred. Understood? So let's go through the examples and we'll apply the rules in the examples, then we will understand much better. We have some root letters of Ajwaf Wawi. Ajwaf Wawi means the Ainul Kalima is Waw. Ajwaf Wawi. We have Kaf Waw Noon. It comes from Bab Nasara. Change. Okay, Kaf Waw Noon will make it as it is. Nasara, so Kawana. Okay, Kawana. Yansuru Mudare. Yakwunu. Let's look at Al-Fa'il Al-Madi first. We look at Harful Illa. Harful Illa Mutaharrik, yes. Ma Qabal Fatha, yes. In the Kaf we see Fatha. So rule number 1 is applied here. Harful Illa Mutaharrik, Ma Qabal Fatha. Harful Illa changes to Alif. So it becomes Kana. Fa'il Madi is Kana. Let's look at الفعل المضارع. Look at the حرف العلة. حرف العلة متحرك. Yes. متحرك means any of the حركة. Okay, we're not going to specify which one. It doesn't matter. It could be any. فتحة, ضمة or كسرة. As long as حرف العلة is متحرك. حرف العلة متحرك. Yes. ما قبل ساكن. Rule number 2. So rule number 2 is applied in الفعل المضارع. So حرف العلة متحرك ما قبل ساكن. So what does it do? حرف علة transfers its حركة to ما قبل, which is ضمة, and حرف العلة, let's delete it, it changes according to the حركة of ما قبل, which is a ضمة, and ضمة requires واو. That's it. So it becomes يكون. So كان يكون. So rule number 1 is applied in فعل الماضي, and rule number 2 is applied in فعل المضارع. Rule number 3, اجتماع ساكنين. Then we will see on what صيغة do we find اجتماع ساكنين. So before that, let's do the rest of the root letters and make a fill. قاف واو لام, because all from باب نصرة. So this should be from باب نصرة as well. All from باب نصرة. So it's going to be exactly the same. كان يكون. كان يكون. So قاف واو لام, we know the rule. So let's do it. قا و لا. قوال ينصر يقول. Apply the rule again. حرف العلة متحرك. Yes. ما قبل فتحة. Yes. حرف العلة changes to an ألف. قال. قال. فالمضارع rule number 2, حرف العلة متحرك ما قبل ساكن. حرف العلة will transfer حركة to ما قبل. And حرف العلة changes to one of the حرف العلة ألف واو أو ياء according to the حركة of the ما قبل, which is the ضمة now. So ضمة requires واو, so يقول. So قال يقول. Next, تا واو با, we know the rule, we can make straight away. تاب يتوب. تاب يتوب. Okay, before let's go through translation. كان يكون to be. قال يقول to say. تاب يتوب, we all know, to repent, to the tawbah. Then mim waw ta, we know the rule, just make the file straight away, because the root letter, which is ajwaf wawi, that waw will change into alif. So na mata, and we follow the same pattern. Mutu, mata yamutu, to die. Qaf waw mim, حرف العلة changes to alif because there is a fatha before it. So قام يقوم. After applying the rule, we did transfer the حركة of حرف العلة to ما قبل and becomes يقوم. قام يقوم, to stand up. And عين واو ذال, again is from باب نصر. So عين واو ذال عاذ يعوذ. هذا يعوذ means to seek refuge. Okay, so these are the fails we just made from the root letters. So in many dictionaries, you're not going to get the root letters, you'll just get the fail straight away. You'll get the fail kana, you'll get the fail qala, taba, mata, qama, aadha. But you're not going to get fail al-mudari. Yeah. It will say which bab is from. So if it says kana from bab nasara, then we know what is fail mudari will be. Yakunu, kana yakunu. Aadha, for example, aadha from bab nasara. So we know how to make fail mudari ya'udhu. Aadha ya'udhu. So if we just memorize these fails, because these are all Quranic verbs, كان يكون to be, قال يقول to say, تاب يتوب to repent, مات يموت to die. If we don't know the original letter in فعل الماضي, just make it فعل مضارع. You'll get the original letter. The حرف العلة comes back in فعل المضارع. So كان يكون, the root letter is ajwaf wawi. Let's go through some other root letters. Ajwaf wawi, still ajwaf wawi, but this time is from bab sami'a. So ha, waw, fa, hawa, hawifa is sami'a, isn't it? Hawifa, yakhwafu, sami'a, yasma'u, sami'a yasma'u. Let's apply the rule. ماضي حرف علة متحرك, yes. ما قبل فتحة, yes. حرف علة changes to alif, so it becomes خافة. يخوف حرف علة متحرك, yes. ما قبل ساكن, yes. حرف علة transfers حرف to ما قبل, and حرف علة changes to one of the حرف العلة according to the حركة of the ما قبل. So what is the حركة ما قبل? فتحة. فتحة requires ألف حرف علة, so becomes يخاف. Okay, خاف يخاف. So in Bab Nasara, the waw is already there, that we couldn't see straight away. Did we change the harf al-illa according to the maqabal? Yes, we did. But in here, in Fa'al Bab Samia, we straight away can see that harf al-illa waw is changed to one of the harf al-illa according to the harf of maqabal. Khafa yakhafu means to fear. Next, kaf, waw, dal. Once we made the first one, we can make the second one straight away, because there is a harf al-illa and there's a fatha before it, changes to alif. Kada, yakadu. So all the root letters from Bab Sami'a will be in this pattern. Khafa yakhafu, kada yakadu. To nearly do, to almost do something, nearly do something, kada yakadu. Next, nun waw mim. This is another famous verb we use, so let's make it from the root letters. Nawima, yasma'u, ينوم نوم ينوم. So if you do try to conjugate as it is a bit hard on the tongue, sometimes tongue twisting. So Arab wants to make things easy. This is why we have these rules. So now the fail becomes easy to pronounce. So نوم حرف علة متحرك ما قبل فتحة حرف علة changes to ألف نام. ينوم حرف علة متحرك ما قبل ساكن حرف علة the حركة of it transfers to ما قبل and حرف العلة changes to one of the حرف العلة according to the حركة of ما قبل which is فتحة, so it will change to an ألف. ينام نام ينام نام ينام. Now it's easy to pronounce and easy on the tongue. Nama yanamu means to sleep. So we are still applying rule number 1 and rule number 2. We haven't gone rule number 3 yet, rule number 4 yet. Rule number 3 and rule number 4 will be in some other sigas. But in siga number 1, فعل الماضي and الفعل المضارع, number 1 rule and number 2 rule is applied. So far we've done some of the root letters of Ajwaf Wawi. Remember the rule number 4, the fa kalima, the haraka of fa kalima also changes. If the fa'il is from Bab Nasara, like kana yakunu, qala yaqulu, in fa'il al-madi from the 6th sigha, the haraka of fa'ul kalima will change to a dhamma. From Bab Sami'a, these 3 fails from Bab Sami'a, the fa'ul kalima will change it to a kasra. Remember that, it cannot go wrong. Let's look at some of the Ajwaf Ya'i. Rule number 4, because it's Ajwaf Ya'i, Fa'ul Kalima from the 6th form will change to Kasra. The Haraka of Fa Kalima will have a Kasra because it's Ajwaf Ya'i. So Jim, Ya, Hamza, Ajwaf Ya'i, most of the time comes from Bab Daraba. So Ja, Ya, A, Daraba, Jaya'a, Yadribu, Yaj, Yi'u, Yaj, Yi'u. Let's apply the rule. حرف علة متحرك, yes. ما قبل فتحة, yes. حرف علة changes to ألف. Rule number 1, جاء. يجيء حرف علة متحرك, yes, there's a kasra but we cannot see it. حرف علة, the haraka transfers to ما قبل. Oops. So يج كسرة يجي. حرف العلة changes according to the haraka which is ya. So يجيء. The fail is ready. جاء يجيء means to come. Next, now we can make the fail straight away. زاد يزيد. زاد يزيد, increase. Next, سيارة سار يسير. سار يسير means to travel. ميم يا تا مات يميت. مات يميت means to die. كاف يا دال كاد يكيد. كاد يكيد means to plot. ضاد يا قاف ضاق يضيق. ضاق يضيق means to be tight. So rule number 1, what is it? حرف العلة متحرك ما قبل فتحة. حرف العلة changes to alif. Rule number 2, حرف علة متحرك ما قبل ساكن. حرف علة transfers حركة ما قبل and change it itself to one of the حرف العلة according to the حركة of ما قبل. Okay, that's it. So rule number 1, rule number 2. Now let's see where we can apply rule number 3 and rule number 4. Let's conjugate the فعل كان first. كان because it's from باب نصر. So once we know how to do كان, we can do any فعل that is أجوف واوي and come from باب نصر. كان, we know the first صيغة كان. All we need to do is add those files. Instead of the files, the مثنى file is ألف كان. The جمع file is واو الجماعة and واو demands ضمة before it. كانوا. كان is مذكر, make it into مؤنث by adding تاء ساكنة. كانت. For dual we need the تاء ساكنة and we need to add alif to make it مثنى, and alif demands fatha before it, so it becomes كانتا. This is the sixth siga we're talking about. This is the sixth siga. Rule number 4 is applied, and rule number 4 is only applied in فعل الماضي. Remember that, الفعل الماضي. Rule number 4 does not apply in فعل مضارع, only in الفعل الماضي. What is the rule? If the فعل is from باب نصر, the حركة of فا كلمة will have a ضمة, أجوف واوي. And if أجوف واوي is from باب سمع, the حركة of فا كلمة will have a كسرة. So because this is from باب نصر, okay, let's make from the original. كان, isn't it? كان. So كان. Remember, from this siga, the lam kalima becomes sakin anyway. So كان, and this is the noon and niswa, so it becomes كان. Apply rule number 3. اجتماع ساكنين. اجتماع ساكنين. Alif is a sakin, the noon is sakin, two sakin coming together. This is called اجتماع ساكنين. So rule number 3 is اجتماع ساكنين حرف علة drops. Drop حرف علة. It becomes كن. كن. So because this is the 6th sigha and the haraka of fa kalima, because it's from Bab Nasara, will change to dhamma, becomes kun. Kun. And we know whenever we have the duplicate letters, what do? Merge. Kun. Kun. And from the rest of the sigas, we'll apply the same rule now. But ta'al file is added. So it becomes kunta. You were. Kunta means you were. Kuntuma, there's nothing to explain here. We know all this. Kuntum, all we're doing is adding the file. Kunti. Kuntuma. Kuntunna. Kunta, kuntuma, kuntum, kunti, kuntuma, kuntunna. Let's conjugate from beginning. Kana, kana, kanu, kanat, kanata. 6th form, kunna. The rest is the same. Kunta, kuntuma, kuntum, kunti, kuntuma, kuntunna. The mutakallim siga is kuntu and jama is kunna. 2 letters the same. Idgham. Kunna. Let's take another fa'al. Qala. Exactly the same. Qala, qala, qalu, qalat, qalata. 6th form, the haraka of fa'ul kalima will change to dhamma because it's from Bab Nasara. Qulna, qulta, qultuma, qultum, qulti, qultuma, qultunna, qultu, qulna. And the rest of the fi'l exactly the same. Let's do fi'l al-mudari. What was fi'l mudari? Kana yakunu. We already made that. Yakunu. Yakunu. Once we have the first siga, all we need to do is add the damir, the fa'il. Yakunani. Yakununa. This is muannas, so we're going to make alamat mudari ta. Takunu. And make it muthanna. Takunani. Now let's look at this now. Jama muannas. The noon and niswa will be added. Okay. And this siga of al-fi'l al-mudari, if you remember, we did learn mabni ala sukun. So lam kalima sukun, and that noon niswa is added. Takun, takun. What happens here? Ijtima sakinain. Ijtima sakinain. The waw has a sukun as well. Do we need to put it? Okay, let's put it. Takunu, the waw is already sakin. Then we have the nun sakin. Ijtima sakinain. What happens? Harf illat drops. So it becomes takunna. So two letters the same. Let's merge them. Becomes takunna. So yakunu, yakunani, yakununa. Takunu, takunani, takunna. Mukhatab, takunu, takunani, takununa, takunina, takunani. We made the Jama Muannas Ghaib yakunna. So this will be takunna. Takunna. Yeah, we need Hamza as alamat mudari. So will be akunu, and we need na as alamat mudari for Jama mutakallim. Nakunu. Akunu, nakunu. So if we go back from the beginning, let's take another fi'l. Qala yaqulu. Exactly the same. Yaqulu, yaqulani, yaquluna. Taqulu, taqulani, taqulna. Taqulna. The lam kalima is a sakin. Taqulu, taqulani, taquluna. Taqulina, taqulani, taqulna. Aqulu, naqulu. Aqulu, naqulu. Yeah, before we end, let's take ajwaf yayi. Ajwaf yayi. Let's take khafa. فعل ماضي خاف خاف خافوا خافت خافتا. Let's do the original. Kha, khaf, the lam kalima sakin, add nun al niswa. Khafna. Rule number 3, ijtima'u sakinain. The harf illa drops, becomes khafna, and because it's from bab sami'a, ajwaf wawi. Because it's from bab sami'a, the haraka of fa kalima changes to kasra. Khifna. Okay, khifna. So from here we make, make the rest of the sigas. Khifta, khiftuma, khiftum, خفتي خفتما خفتن خفتوا خفنا. So خاف خافا خافوا خافت خافتا. Sixth form, because it's from Bab Sami'a, the haraka of fa kalima changes to kasra. خفنا خفنا. So خفتا خفتما خفتم خفتي خفتما خفتن خفتوا خفنا. فعل مضارع, we made it يخاف يخاف. We just need to add the damir يخافان يخافون. تخاف تخافان. Okay, what's happening here? Let's see the Jama Muannas. We need to add the Noon and Niswan. So it will change Alamat Mudari to Ya. So let's Lam Kalima Sakin, add Noon and Niswa. Yakhafna, Ijtima Sakinain. What happens? The harf illa drops, becomes yakhafna. That's it. Yakhafna. Because we don't need to do anything else. There's ijtima sakinain. We deleted harf illa, and because there is no duplication of letters, no need to be idgham. So the siga is yakhafna. The rest is the same. Takhafu. Oops. Takhafani. Takhafuna. Takhafina. Takhafani. So Jama Muannas, the ghaib was yakhafna. So this will be takhafna. Why is always the dot? And we need to drop the, because of ijtima sakinain, drop the harful illa alif, becomes takhafna. And akhafu mufrad mutakallim, jama mutakallim, nakhafu. Akhafu nakhafu. Right, okay. Almost time is up. I was going to do one example of Ajwaf Yayi. Remember Ajwaf Yayi, we apply rule number 1, we apply rule number 2, we apply rule number 3. But rule number 4, in Fail al-Madi, from the 6th sigha, the haraka of fa kalima is always kasra. We don't look at what bab is from, it's always kasra. So I'm going to give you homework. Write it, 3 root letters. أجوف ياي با يا عين با يا عين from باب ضربة means to sell. با يا عين باب ضربة to sell. And conjugate فعل الماضي and فعل المضارع. And let's see how we do it, inshallah. So, yes, this is the end of lesson 69. So, inshallah, we'll see you in the next lesson. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.